Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Between you and me, this is the third time this video has been shot today. Um, but it's cool. Yeah, go ahead and do all the things. Um, hit subscribe, like the video, and let's get started. Um, let's talk about what I call the fun stuff: guitars, cables, picks, and all that. The guitar I'm using today is the Epiphone Emily Wolf's signature ES335. I added a Bigsby to it. Um, yeah, I'm a big fan of Dave Grohl, and I saw a 335 body with the diamond shaped F holes, and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm buying it, and I've come to love it. And I checked out some of her music, and she's a pretty dope artist as well. Strings. Strings. I'm using the Ernie Ball Paradigm strings. I always break strings, and so since I've changed over to those, uh, I've I don't have any fear anymore of breaking strings during a gig or a service. Picks are the Dunlop Jazz Street picks. I guess I should say, still am a huge fan of Metallica. And when I first started learning guitar, I found out that Kirk Hammett was using jazz picks. So I was like, well, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. And here we are, 15, 20 years later, still using them. I even use them for bass. All my cables are pretty much Ernie. No, they're Ernie Ball cables. I use the flat ribbon patch cables for my board, and I use their instrument cables. I have a few colored ones. I love the neon colored cables just because whenever you go to like a studio or church or a camp or something, you know how it is. Other musicians end up taking your stuff, or you take theirs, or you leave it, and then you're like, "Oh, is this your cable? Is it my cable?" Nobody ever knows. But when you have bright neon cables, I'm almost sure nobody else is going to have those, and yeah, they're hard to forget or be mistaken. And then I have another Dunlop cable that I leave at my church. It's like a 2-in-1 cable. It's a headphone, extender, and quarter-inch cable. That's really good for all you guys that don't have wireless packs and you're on an Avion or a P16. If you have an issue of walking away and taking the monitor with you, you never forget to unplug your guitar, so you'll always remember to unplug your in-ears. And just because it's a 2-in-1, that's one less cable you have to worry about. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Let's check out the power supply. Power supply, I am using the Dunlop Power Brick and the Amazon Home or Amazon Basic power supply. I started with the Amazon because it was cheap, and I've had no problems with it. Don't regret it at all. Honestly, would probably buy another one. But when I got my HX Stomp, I needed something that was going to be good enough to power it. And for people that are powering the Stomps on the board, it has special needs. We'll just say that. The HX Stomp has special power needs. And so that's where the Dunlop Power Brick came in. But using both of those to power, and yeah, let's start with the pedals. Let's actually start backwards with kind of the middle / end of my chain, with the HX Stomp. This is running. I have only on here my amps, a reverb, and then a special effect we'll talk about later. So let's start backwards with that. I am running stereo on the left side. I am running a Jazz Rivet 120 amp going into a 2x12 Mandarin 30 cab, which is, I guess, their version of a orange amp. And then on the right side, the other side, we're using a US double. And I don't know if that's I'm guessing that's a twin reverb or a Dumble, one of those, I'm guessing. And the cab that I chose was the 212 Match H30. I have a bit of plate reverb, just kind of some ambience. The because whenever you're playing modelers, sometimes it just feels a little weird in your ears, and so putting a little reverb kind of gives it a more realistic sound. And so here is our clean sound with nothing but just the amps and that bit of reverb at the end. Yeah, so that's my clean sound, nothing but the amps and the reverb and the stomp. Let's go ahead and jump to the very beginning. We have the POG, the EH, which one? This is the POG 2. So I have three main settings that I have. I have kind of a swell organ sound for ambience, a chorus for leads, just to kind of warble it, thicken it, bring it out, and then a sub octave. I use the sub octave for leads instead of doing the octave up, just because I feel like it helps sit in the mix better, and it helps pop out in a way that doing the octave up doesn't. And so here's how I would use some of that stuff in context with other pedals. So after that, we have the MXR Super Comp here, and I have my settings where attack level is about 4 o'clock, output is about maybe, let's say, 5, and sensitivity is about 7 or 8 o'clock. It does what a compressor does, and it does it real good. It takes our low volume and brings it up, and our loud volume brings it down, just controls the dynamics and adds a bit of attack. So here's the compressor with it off. And then with the compressor on. This is a little bit more sustained too. And then for the rest of the video, you're going to hear that compressor on. It's not going off. After that, we go into our first drive, which is the TC Electronics MOJO drive. I have drive on there at about 8 o'clock, bass at 8 o'clock. Then I have the volume at about 4 o'clock and treble at 4 o'clock. I kind of set up like this because it gives me a edge of breakup tone. I like to keep this on just because of that edge of breakup tone gives me a little bit of saturation, and then I can control kind of dynamics with my picking hand if I want to go for a cleaner sound or a rhythm sound, no more kind of dirty, heavier rhythm sound. So with it on, but then we can do the clean stuff too. Put a little reverb and delay on there. Yeah, and that's all with the overdrive on. Next, we have the JOYO Maximum Overdrive. This is a copy of the full tone full drive, I think it's called. It's not two channel, but two button. It has a on and off, and then a boost. And it was only $50. So I was like, how compared to the original one? It's like, yeah, let's try it out. And I really like this one. I have this kind of set up in the same way, where this is a heavier drive, just a little bit past edge of breakup that I like to stack with the MOJO. Sometimes I'll do it by itself just to give kind of a different flavor of edge of breakup, but most of the time they're getting stacked as a second drive. So this is the JOYO without the MOJO. And then with the MOJO. And then it has the boost, and I set it. The booster actually goes, I guess it'll be MOJO drive, then volume boost into the overdrive of the JOYO. And this kind of gives you like almost a cranked Marshall type tone. It's really cool for leads. I kind of get like that sweet child of mine type sound when I put it on the neck pickup and the boost on. All right. After that, we go into everyone's favorite, the rat distortion. That's, I guess, your third stage drive or first stage distortion, I guess, if you want to call it. I use that for whenever we do some of the heavier songs or some stuff for youth. And I like to pair that with the POG, and that kind of gets you like a sub octave fuzz type vibe. When you add the MOJO in, it gets even heavier, and you can almost do like some metal stuff. And then after the rat, we're going into the Ernie Ball volume pedal. Nothing special about that, just that I stick it after the drive so I can control some of this noise like you hear now. Step on the volume, and it's gone. Out of the volume, we go into the Polytune, the TC Electronics Polytune. That's the oldest pedal I have. It's been on almost every iteration of my board. And I've been going out of the volume output of the tuner. Just because it's so old, that's the only way that it can be used. If I put it in the signal, it cuts the volume down drastically. Out of the volume pedal, we go into the TC Electronics Bonafide buffer. This thing is really great. It's super cheap and it's small, runs off of 9 volts. I use it just to help kind of clear up some of my sound, to drive it a little bit more. Because when you're running long cables and you have all these pedals, you lose a little high fidelity. And the buffer just helps bring that back. Out of the buffer pedal, we go ahead and go into the stomp, my 2 amps. And then out of the 2 amps is the effects loop. But before we do that, I've got a cool little thing that a friend of mine showed me. I have a delay as a mono delay going only on one side, only going to one amp. I actually had a pedal that did this, but just needing the room and learning this trick from my friend uh, is really cool. So what it is, it's a simple delay, and I set the delay time to about 71 milliseconds. And what that does is gives you a real short delay, and it's gonna widen up your stereo width. So here it is without the delay. And then with the delay. So out of the amps, we go into our effects loop. I run all my wet effects after my amps and the cab. Out of the effects loop, we go into the Boss Wazacraft Dimension C chorus. I have it on the the SSD setting, the 300. And I use presets 3 and 4 together, and it gives you just this clean kind of shimmery sound. Yeah, we all know about the chorus. Sometimes I'll use it for leads, but mainly that'll be for kind of clean rhythm stuff. Out of that, we go into the TC Electronics flashback delay. I think it's called the X3 because there's 3 delays. There's two big delays that TC Electronics has. One with the looper and the one without. I have the one without the looper because with this you can run all 3 delays together, and the one with the looper you can't. It has a switch for series and parallel. Delay in series just means we're running the first delay in the delay 2, and then delay 2 and the delay 3, so all the delays are affecting each other. Where in parallel, you're running each delay separately, so you're getting 3 delays. I run it in series. I have 3 kind of like a small, always on type delay. And usually that'll stay on most of the time. A bigger ping pong, and then even longer one. And then sometimes I'll put all 3 on. Yeah, and then last is the Big Sky. I just put this on my board not too long ago. I found some presets on here from the guy that I brought it on, and he kind of has like a smaller plate reverb and then a bigger cloud reverb, and those are kind of 2 that I'm going between, and they sound like this. So here is the smaller plate. And then the cloud. All right, guys, and that is it for my board. Let's hope that this is the one that gets uploaded. If you have any questions, go ahead and DM me, or hit me up in the comments. Link to my Instagram and social media, Spotify, all that is in the description. And I'll see you next time. Here's a little, I guess, a little jam to end the video.